Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Big Brother Canada 5 finale podcast for Rob Has the Podcast. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and we have crowned our new champion. I won! I did it! I won again! Team undefeated. You can't stop me. I have never been defeated, and I never will be defeated. It'll never happen. I won the draft. I picked Kevin. Kevin wins Big Brother Canada 5. What are you going to do? You can't stop me. You can't.
I'll tell you what I'll do, dude. I'll one-up you by reminding you who picked Kevin as the greatest player of all time.
Oh, we'll get to that, Alex. We'll get to that.
This guy. I mean, you win the battle, but I win the war, sir.
Let's introduce you, Alex. We're joined by a man who, he called a shot, as he mentioned. He said, Kevin, best Big Brother Canada player of all time. And then I gave him a pick ahead of me. And he chose Bruno instead of Kevin. He gave me Kevin. He let me win. And he knew all along that Kevin was the best Big Brother Canada player of all time, but he still didn't pick him. Yeah. What's with that, Alex?
Because I can still gloat in this situation, can I? Like, you win the draft, but I can still gloat. Absolutely, yeah. If Bruno had won the draft, I would gloat. And now that Kevin has won, I can talk about how nobody else had the stones to pick anyone not named Neta for the greatest Big Brother Canada player of all time, except for me. I went out on the limb. And it proved sturdy indeed, Taran. The limb is strong.
All right. I think it's more embarrassing, to be honest, but we'll let you do that.
Let me have this.
Don't be offended by my jovial nature. I know that I am also joined by a man in grief. And I know that he is, many people are in grief at what happened in this finale. Brent, how are you doing? How are you coping?
Well, I didn't think this night could get any worse when Kevin won and Demetrius lost, but then Taran had to bring up the effing draft. Like, seriously, I'd forgotten about that bitch until you reminded me about that. And by the way, I think that like what Alex had tonight was a little bit of like 3 degrees of separation, because he said that Kevin was like the greatest Big Brother player ever, but the person that like said that also tonight was Bruno, which was the person that Alex picked in his draft. So there's energy going on tonight that I can't even explain.
He definitely watched that podcast before he went back in the house.
Yeah, when Bruno walked up there and said that, I almost fell off my chair. Like, really, bitch? Really? Okay.
Yeah, there you go. And then also, finally, we are joined by the woman who nearly took my crown. You came closer than anyone else really has. Melissa Deni, how you doing?
I was so close, so close. If Demetrius had just won that final HOH, I would have been the winner. It would have been my first draft, first win. I would have been, solid. Very disappointing that I didn't win.
All right. Well, enough about the draft. We are here to talk about this finale podcast. We have a chat room up on robhasawebsite.com. You can chat there. You can, tell us that we're so wrong about Karen, that Karen is definitely going to win the game. And you can send in questions to me on Twitter at ArmstrongTaran. And let's get started. Right off the bat, we got to talk about Kevin, right? Kevin has won Big Brother Canada unanimously, the first unanimous vote since Dan Giesling, the second only in the history of Big Brother, for this style of Big Brother. What did you think of that, Melissa?
Sorry, what was the question? I just had to turn off my fan. I forgot.
It's all right. What did you think of the unanimous vote? First unanimous vote since Dan Giesling, second only in existence. Like, this is crazy, right?
I was actually pretty surprised. Especially because Dylan was sitting there saying he was never going to vote for Kevin. And there were some other people who I kind of didn't think were going to vote for Kevin. I was very surprised. I really thought that there was going to be it was going to be more even. Maybe Kevin would win out, but more even. I didn't think that it was just going to be a total blowout, which is kind of crazy.
Right. I mean, I kind of figured it was going to be 8-1. Like, I definitely thought that last jury video was a bit of like a tease where they're like, oh, everyone thinks Karen's a lock to lose. We better like make them say nice things about Karen, or like, maybe there's some things about Karen. Because I feel like the other videos weren't like that, but then the last one kind of was. And that made me raise an eyebrow a little bit. But I think more than anything, just the fact that, ultimately, like, wait, I forget where I was going. I'm too excited.
Yeah, this is there's a lot going on. The finale just happened. Emotions are running high.
Yeah, you were about to say that you found interesting the questioning reserved resembled like verbal hand jobs, which is interesting because that's what Kevin was doing earlier in the season. Like that's what this
Pretty
whole
sure that's where I was going.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it was.
Oh yes,
because,
that's exactly
no,
what
the
it
fact
was.
that it was. I mean, 9-0, whatever. It doesn't matter if he wins 5-4, 9-0. I could really care less. Like this whole thing was just a sham at the end. Like I mean, I was just whatever. Like I mean, Bruno sat there and asked him a question about what was your biggest move, man? And literally like he's like, I love you, man. You did such a great job. Oh, but I'm totally being neutral and asking this question. Like, let me see what was your biggest move? And then Kevin brings up his one worst move ever at the final 5, and Bruno still votes for him. So yeah, tell me that the questions mean something here, people. Whatever.
No, I thought that the questions were kind of ridiculous. It was like everybody wanted to ask like a self-serving question. It was like, so, why weren't you loyal to me? Or like, were you loyal to me? Do you think that I got you there? It's like, why they're not real questions. They just want to hear them, give them compliments and say like, you were a great player. Like I had to get you out, or even just like, of course I was loyal to you. It's like, who cares if they were loyal to you? You're out. Like the whole point is, what did they do in the game? I was just, even Neta too. Even Neta, like I would have thought that she would have asked a question that was like really, pointed and like trying to get to the bottom of things. And instead it was just like, were you loyal to me?
Why is she going to get to the bottom of things when we know how she's going to vote? I mean, it was all over their face.
I don't know. I feel like, I knew that she already had her vote locked in, but I just felt that she was going to try and get more of like a strategy answer, try and be more analytical. She's got the like whole game bot persona. You'd think that she'd say something game body and not talk about like, oh, are you loyal to me?
Yeah,
like,
I think her game bot persona went out the window when she went up there and made that terrible joke about cat food. Like, what was that?
Yeah, was that missing? Was that an act? Was that like an inside joke that I didn't understand, or like was that?
I think she's talking about like
she's
the
probably
cat
gonna make
or something.
Kevin like we probably think it's a joke, but Kevin will probably end up buying like a few months worth of cat food. Like she'll
but
probably
why?
get that out
Is
of
that
him.
part of something? Am I like missing
She's
something?
a better social player than he is, and he'll pay for it.
I don't. That doesn't explain it. Like that's still, I still don't know what we're talking about. I feel like
Neta has cats, and cat food costs money, and Kevin now has money. And
I'm so confused.
Played a role in him having money.
You and me both.
I think I thought it was going to be 8-1. I really did. I think I get that it's like it definitely is self-serving. It's like the classic. I mean, we see this in Survivor a lot, where people are like, is there anyone that's not in that final 3 that you think maybe deserves to be there? Like, and they're like definitely looking for the answer to be me, like more me in this finale. That's where I'm already evicted. Yeah, right. But I think, that didn't bother me as much as I was really surprised. Like, not only did Karen not get Dylan's vote, but Dylan was like making faces and stuff and like, like scoffing and stuff while Karen was answering his question. And I was just like shocked by that. Cause like, I mean, I think like, even if they weren't friends, which like they are friends, so it's very surprising to me, but like, that's kind of disrespectful to the process. Like, even if you think that person is completely like illogical in what they're saying. And like, I've certainly been like, one of the first to, sit here and, ring the gong of what Karen's saying isn't actually the reality of kind of the situation. But I still think like in that moment when it's down to the final 2, like you got to like give her the respect of like, at least like listening to her question and nodding and not like looking over and like treating it like some kind of, I don't know. Like I didn't like the way Dylan handled that at all.
Well, to be fair, Dylan is very easily influenced. So it's possible that once he got to the jury, they were like, can you believe what Karen did to you? Blah, blah, blah. And convinced him that she's this like horrible person and that Kevin was really on his side or something, It's totally possible.
Right. And I mean, like we talked about it a little bit last night where like what Karen did by somehow managing to keep Dylan's jury vote was seemingly impossible because she was totally screwing him over. And it was obvious to anybody except for Dylan. So I imagine as soon as he got to the jury house, they were like, dude, she screwed you. You realize that, right?
Yeah.
And he was probably not very happy about that. But it is interesting because he was talking about how she was his girl, even in the jury roundtable, which was at least, like 4 days later. So who knows? Maybe in the jury roundtable, maybe maybe Ika said something that turned him against Karen. Because
no,
but still,
I don't think
respect the process.
You guys are overthinking this.
Finale
like,
night.
I mean, come on, you guys are overthinking this. Like, I mean, he realizes at that point it's going to be 7-1, 8-1. Like, he realizes he's probably going to be the one, and who wants to be voting with the loser? Like, you want to be with the winner. You want to be partying with the winner. He doesn't want to be out on his own island, having voted for Karen in front of everybody if no one else would support her. I mean, basically, people were totally laughing at her, and I get why some of them were laughing at her. Although I did think it was disrespectful because some of the things that she was saying, I didn't think were totally accurate as far as the game that we saw. Again, as I said last night, I think there was a case to be made for Karen here. I don't know if she could have made it in the time that she had, but given the time that they gave her, which is the 1 minute beforehand, plus the final speech after the questions, plus she basically didn't even use her questions to address anything that really wasn't asked. Like, I wanted her to take the question and go on a tangent with it. Instead, she basically gave, like, I think at one point she gave like a 4-word answer to Cindy's question, and at that point, the game is stacked against you. You know, there's nothing you can do to change the outcome.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it last night, but I really just think that you gave Karen a lot more credit than she should have. Like this
again.
Performance.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Can I just be clear? For people hating me on Twitter, again, as I pointed out on Twitter, when someone bitched at me because they were saying that I wasn't giving fair and balanced coverage to Kevin. First of all, I don't feel like that's my responsibility to do that because I feel like other people were doing that for him. I didn't really hear anybody talking about Karen for the most part. I didn't hear anybody making a viable case for Karen. She ended up getting to the final 2. I felt like it was important for us as somebody who covers reality TV to make a case for Karen in her best possible light. It's too bad that she herself didn't make that case, but that's what I wanted to do. Case closed.
Well
Sorry,
said. Well said.
Okay.
Here.
Okay. So I mean, we should address what Bruno said, right? Because Bruno goes up and he votes and he says, "I'm voting for the best Big Brother Canada player of all time."
And Ika's like, "I'm already out, bitch."
Right.
So, you know, now that Kevin has done this, he has pulled off this unbelievable winning streak. He has won unanimously. Only the second time in the history of Big Brother has this happened. Should we be looking at Kevin's game in a more positive light now that this has happened? Like, I mean, he dominated those questions. He prepared in such an unbelievable way that he was unstoppable from final 8 to final 2 to unanimously winning. He was never even eligible for nomination and didn't get a single vote cast against him. This is impressive, isn't it, Alex?
Yeah, it is. I mean, he's got, and that's why I ranked him first when I did. That's why I took the chance. I mean, everyone was going Neta. I probably would have gone Neta until I saw everyone going Neta. I'm like, oh, what the hell? I think Kevin, I've seen potential from Kevin to be a great player, so I'll take that chance. And I mean, I stand by the things I began, I was seeing at the time. Like, certainly he did not play a very strong game this time. He didn't play a strong winning game by any stretch of the imagination. He really had to Mike Holloway this thing. But I mean, the fact remains that he does bring, certain skills to the table that are translatable in any Big Brother season. I mean, obviously, like, some of these competitions, especially in Big Brother Canada, especially down the stretch, more and more seem like they can be truly prepared for. And just beyond that, I mean, he's just an inoffensive, humble, self-aware, for the most part guy. Humble, yeah, well, that's fine. But boring, yeah, I mean, a little bit, right? He subscribes to like the Milford School from Arrested Development. If you blend in with the background for a little while, like, that should get you to jury. Wallpaper gets the jury. That's fine, dude. I think that's if you can find someone that, and maybe they're not great television, and I think Kevin tries, despite the lack of natural charisma. I think he really tries to be good TV, but yeah, I mean, I think that ultimately it's something that you just can't necessarily control all the way.
Yeah, and I'm totally Brent calls Kevin boring all the time, but I don't see that at all. Like, Kevin was one of the stars of Big Brother Canada 3, even though he got evicted halfway through the game. That's the reason he came back. It's the reason production loves him so much. As supported as Brent is, I think there are a lot of people that are very anti-Kevin. There are also a lot of people that love Kevin. It's a very divided fan base, so I don't think we can just blanket say that Kevin is boring, end of story.
Yeah, I can't even.
I also don't think he's. I also don't think he's boring because he makes these like outrageous choices sometimes where you're like, what are you thinking? And you're just like when he was going to use the veto and then they were going to put Bruno on the block. And we were like, Kevin, how are you believing this? But it made for exciting television. I mean, until he decided not to do it. But then, I mean, and then when he did use the veto and took Ika down, I mean, that was another exciting thing. Like, these are all blunders, but they're very exciting. And he's not a boring player. He's not afraid to make like moves that he thinks are good. Maybe they're not. Most of the time they're not. But, you know, he's not afraid to take these chances. He's not afraid to get out there and try something new. A boring player, I think, in my opinion, would just sit back and be like, what's the safest move? What am I going to do to get further? And then just kind of blend in. And I don't think he did that.
Yeah, and I think it's telling that in the... Oh, go ahead.
Okay, I just want to tell you guys, like, my niece and nephew just got home, so I have about 5 minutes left of the real Brent, and then about probably 30 minutes left of soft-spoken Brent. So if you really want the tea, you're going to have to let me talk for the next fucking 5 minutes, okay? I can't even believe you guys are saying this about Kevin. Like, seriously, the question was, like, do you agree with Bruno's assessment that he's the best Big Brother Canada player of all time? He basically, as Alex said, it was Mike Holloway. Does Rob consider Mike Holloway to be a great winner of Survivor? No. I mean, like, it's just, like, I can't even believe we're having this discussion. Socially and strategically, he was basically inept. Socially, people never trusted him, besides the people that he brought in there as friends and knew him on the outside. Strategically, he didn't know where his ass was from his head for most of the time. So I can't even believe that's actually a discussion that we're having here. By the way, Taran, I can't even believe that you're using production as something to use to back up your argument. They also brought back Dallas. So you're really trying to have me buy the fact that they brought back Kevin as a reason to believe that he's not a boring player, that, he's somebody who, you yourself said, uses his emotions and, like, pushes them all the way down, so he never really reacts to anything that's going on in the house. And that's not very fun for me to watch, especially when somebody's yelling at him and he's just giving them this, like, stone face of nothingness. That's what his game was at the end, because it was just Jedi drilling and competitions, and that's all it was, and I wasn't impressed. And while I'm at it, I'm gonna have to go in on Neta too. I want to talk about her in this finale, if you can let me get to that before these people over here go to sleep.
I mean, I'm not saying that if production thinks somebody's not boring, then they're not boring. But I mean, as soon as I said that in the chat, there were a bunch of people that are like, unbelievable, Taran. I can't believe you would say that Kevin isn't boring. And there were a ton of people that were saying Kevin is super entertaining. I think he's really fun.
He's fun in the diary room.
What I'm saying is that we can't just say everybody thinks Kevin is boring. End of story. That's a given. You know what I mean?
He's fun in the diary room. That's the extent of it. He's fun in the diary room because he knows what to give production. He's not fun in the house whatsoever. To me, he's just like wallpaper. You heard the jury. Like, I mean, they were praying. Some of them were praying that they could vote for somebody else. Unfortunately, the other option was Karen. But most of them were just sick of Kevin because they're like, you started playing like halfway through the game. Nobody even knew you were there. Then you comped your way, Mike Holloway style, to the end. Is that something that is that kind of a one-dimensional game? What we really want our season to be represented by? Unfortunately, they really had no other choice with Karen up there with Kevin.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's telling, though, that you weren't saying Kevin was a boring player throughout the season. You're now saying Kevin is a boring player because you're mad that he won, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Well, no, to be fair, like, no, I have had my issues with Kevin because it's like, you want I like my reality TV people a little bit extra. I have never ever hidden this, probably because I'm a little bit extra sometimes. So when somebody intentionally tries to take the drama out of the TV, take the drama out of the show, I don't find that to be all that entertaining. It may be good gameplay, but I've never really loved amazing gameplay. I like people that have really good gameplay married with a very good social game and a good game for TV. And Kevin just doesn't fill all the boxes for me. That's what I'm saying.
Well, let's also address this idea that Kevin didn't do anything for the first half of the game. Demetrius says he started playing the game on day 48. This is a criticism. I mean, again, people criticized Nicole for this. People are now criticizing Kevin for this. Was Kevin not playing in the early half of the game? Because
that's really cool. Because Nicole and Kevin both used the hand job strategy, totally legit. Like they got it locked down. I'm just saying.
Well, all right.
Great
to me, I think that Kevin, he was in the 6. he was a target from day one and worked pretty hard with Bruno to avoid being put up on the block. He used his relationships to keep himself safe. He developed this relationship with William that ultimately saves him in the game. Can we really say that Kevin wasn't doing anything in the first half of the game? What do you think, Alex?
No, I mean, I think Kevin was doing exactly enough. I think he was in a great position, and when you're in a great position in the house, you don't want to disrupt the status quo. So I think from a game perspective, he was playing very well, and I think, he was just like, man, like Cindy sabotaged. Cindy just blew a hole in the ship, you know what I mean? And then it was just taking on water the rest of the game, and he just had to win out. But he did. I mean, that's what he did. He had to win out, and he got there with someone he knew he could beat, and everyone knew would be there at the end. They had been talking about it for weeks and would be beatable if she was there. And I mean, he really just set it up perfectly. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago. He had to beat Demetrius in 3 straight things. Basically, 3 straight competitions, even though the last head of house was kind of like 3-1. I mean, it really was impressive what he was able to do. He really had the whole house against him. Everyone was trying to take him out for a long time now, for weeks. And, in addition to just like how hard that is to keep winning, I mean, I can't even imagine how hard that is mentally, where you're just isolated from anyone who cares about you, and everyone you're around you is just trying to like see you gone. Like, it must be incredibly difficult emotionally and mentally. So, I mean, I'm pretty impressed, that he was able to hang in there and not buckle under the pressure. I mean, we've seen people, kind of collapse and make, crazy decisions down the stretch. But, even if he didn't necessarily have like the strategic chops that we would expect from him all the time, he certainly was able to get the job done.
Yeah, and I think it also should be pointed out that anybody else left in the game, Demetrius, Ika, they would have had to basically win out in order to win as well. All of the previous winners of Big Brother Canada, from Jillian to John to the Pax Bros to Sarah, they all won out in their own way. Nobody in the history of Big Brother Canada has won the game purely on social ability.
How did Sarah Hanlon win out, bitch?
She did. Well, she didn't win. She had twists.
No. As I recall, she lost part 1 of the HOH and she lost part 2 of the HOH.
That's why I said basically, because Demetrius also had 1 week.
You didn't really even give her credit for that. I mean, she got Godfrey to take her to the end, and if he takes Ashley,
we're not talking about Sarah Hanlon.
Just saying.
I'm saying that basically, for the most part, every single winner of Big Brother Canada has had to win multiple competitions. Maybe they've had 1 week where they managed to get through on their social game or strategic game, but for the most part, they have been immune for many of the weeks leading up to the finale. And I think that is very telling. And I think that we can't say that that Kevin is a terrible player because of this, when in Big Brother Canada this is a huge part, and especially given the fact that these competitions are very predictable and Kevin was able to game them. I think we have to say, if this is a very important part in winning the game, then Kevin is very, very good at it, and that's something that we have to consider. What do you think, Melissa?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, it was very impressive the amount of time that Kevin spent studying. I mean, he could have, I just feel like everybody was against him. He had no friends, and he could have, cried. He could have done, so many people react in a different way when Ika was yelling at him. And instead he just went by himself into a room and just studied. And yeah, it didn't make for exciting feeds, but you know what? It worked. It was important. He needed to do that in order to win these competitions. And honestly, it wasn't even a question with these date competitions. All of them, it was like, yeah, Kevin's going to win. And he got most of the questions right. I mean, for the most part, he got all the questions right, except for, flipping the dates in the stalactites, stalagmites, whatever competition. But, he recognized the importance of knowing all the dates and knowing all the questions. And it was impressive.
If the show depended on what Kevin gave us on the feeds the last 3 weeks, the show would quickly be canceled. I mean, the fact that he didn't have any friends, that was kind of his own fault. I mean, I don't know why people keep going back to that. Well, he didn't have any friends. All he had was time to study. Well, I mean, I think he wanted to have friends. He just was unable to make them. He was unable to make allies. He wanted to have allies. He couldn't make allies because he was that bad at the game. He had to comp his way to the end, and that's the only reason he won. That's all I'm trying to say.
But that
I don't
also
think he could have made. He couldn't. It's not that he was bad at the game, which meant he couldn't make friends. I mean, when people are not willing to even accept you and they're just not willing to even open up to you at all, it's tough. You can't crack that.
Can we go back to
also,
this thing
like,
because you
hold
said
on.
this tonight?
I just like you're saying that Kevin needed to comp his way out, but like you would have been happy with a Dimitri win. Dimitri also needed to comp his way out to get to the end.
You keep
There were
overstating
multiple.
it.
There were
He
multiple
lost at the
times
final
throughout the
five.
season.
He lost at the final five.
Brent.
You
There were
you
multiple
keep
times throughout the
overstating
season
this.
where he would have gone home if he didn't win a competition. That's what I'm saying. In the same way that Kevin needed competition.
But he still had to
Demetrius also needed. There were plenty of weeks where Kevin didn't need to win a competition and he survived. Just because Dimitri had 1 week where that wasn't the case doesn't mean that he didn't have situations where he did need to win.
That was an amazing moment, and you just like, well, besides.
I'm not saying it wasn't great.
Kevin
it was,
never
but
had a moment of fire where he had to face his demons without the safety of the Big Brother game. Okay,
but he didn't have anyone
had that.
crazy like Karen willing to save him against their own best interests either.
And who boy, I can't win with you guys. It's like, well, either he saved himself because of safety, or somebody like Karen saved him because she's crazy. I mean, like,
it wasn't good for Karen.
You don't want me on this podcast? Like, seriously. Like, I mean, it's just like, come on. Like, one of them has to be true. Either their social game got Karen to save him at the final 5, and you have to give them credit for getting her to save him there.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you on this.
Brent. Thank you.
Yeah. I agree. Like Dimitri's social game got him through the final 5, and I think that's a really great thing. But we can't then also ignore the fact that he did need wins to get to that point, and he would have needed wins to get to the end. So I don't think we can only criticize Kevin for it and not Dimitri's as well.
I'm not criticizing Kevin. I am criticizing Kevin for it. I'm not criticizing Demetrius for it, because there were times down the stretch where Demetrius did not have safety, and there were never times where Kevin did. That's all I'm saying. And when you said your initial, posit to this theory, you said, well, Dimitri had to comp his way all the way to the end. And I'm sorry, but honey, that's not true. You did not say that. I know what you said.
I said basically needed to, because there was 1 week in which he didn't have to.
You added the basically later. That's why I'll go back. I'm going to go back and check the tape. That's okay.
You can go back because I did say it. All right. So enough of that. So something that I thought was really interesting was Kevin's final speech, especially in comparison to Karen's, because Karen was very, she was very calm and collected, and sort of was just like, my relationships got me to this point, and I'm very grateful to have been here. And then Kevin gave, I think, like the most passionate speech I've heard on Big Brother. Don't you? Like when I was watching this, I was like, how can a jury see him next to Karen and not feel like an emotional tug to give it to him? I thought this was very impressive. What did you think, Melissa?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was kind of disappointed with Karen's speech. I mean, I'd kind of hoped for something more along the lines of what her jury speech had been, rather than all she said was essentially that she needed people to get her there, meaning she didn't get there herself. She needed people. I don't know. It was like, you need to take all the credit you can get. You need to explain why you got yourself there. She just was trying to make people feel good in the jury and be like, it's all you guys. But that doesn't help her. So I was very disappointed in her speech. And I felt like Kevin's speech was very passionate. He showed how much it meant to him. And, if I was sitting there in the jury, I'd probably be influenced by that. I probably would be like, you know what? It means more to him. It clearly means something to him. And, you want to you want to give the win to somebody who cares, somebody who's super passionate about the game, and somebody and I loved how he said, like, I want to represent this season. It was great. I loved it.
It basically, I think, like delved into this whole underdog, undercat, whatever you want to call it, mentality, where he was saying, I had my back against the wall. I spent every morning, every day studying in that. I went into that backyard, and my life was on the line so many times. I just want this more than anything. It's essentially like the core existence of what it means to be an underdog and to have a passion and fight through it and survive. And I mean, again, like Kevin's game, not very impressive, especially from a strategic or social standpoint. But when you see the passion, you really, really pull for him. How are you feeling, Alex?
No, I mean, I'm in that camp. It's impossible for me not to. I mean, I've talked about it before. This is the first guy who ever gave me a shout out on live feeds. I've been like the Frankie Muniz of this panel. Like you guys have both gotten multiple shout outs on previous seasons before I ever was mentioned by anyone. So the fact that Kevin was in there and was talking about me a couple of times, like, how can I not love this kid? You know, I've never met him, but I've talked to him, you know, online. Seems very, very nice. You know, he's a friend of Jordan's, and Jordan's a friend of mine. And this is like the first season where we've kind of like really had to reconcile these things. So it's yeah, I mean, it's tough for me not to want to pull for Kevin. I'm certainly biased when it comes to Kevin. I mean, I make no kind of qualms about that. But yeah, I mean, you know, for me, it's, you know, it's kind of like someone I can live vicariously through a little bit, because to watch someone who's such a big fan of this game with his back against the wall just somehow pull it out when the odds seemed like they're against him for so long, like it was a bit of a feel good moment for me personally. I will say I was on that side.
All right. So let's also talk about Ika and Demetrius. They go out here back to back, and you know, Ika, I think, generally seen as the star of the season, probably the most strategic player of the season. And then Demetri comes out here. They both end up voting for Kevin over Karen, even though Karen is the one that saved them against the her own best interests. You know. How we need to look at how Kevin was able to handle Ika and Demetrius. His jury management there, I think, was really, really good, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely. I mean, the fact that he told Demetrius, vote for the guy who got you out because you were amazing, you know, that was great. I thought that was the exact perfect thing to say to Demetrius in that moment. Because if you had tried any other strategy that was like, you know, I played a better game than you because you're sitting out there, it's like, that's not really what you want to do. You want to compliment them, but at the same time be like, look, I got you out. And he did. And so I think that was great. And I think that the way that even all three of them, the way that Demetrius, Ika, and Kevin went out, where they were all like, you know what, I respect your game. I respect you. I respect your game. I thought that was great. I mean, it shows that that it's a game. They're not taking things personally. They're not, you know, still bitter about stuff. It showed that they just want to crown a winner that they think is deserving.
Well,
it was great.
Yeah, I can't say that for all the jurors, though.
Well, okay, so let's talk about Neta, because this was interesting. I assume you're talking about Neta because
oh no, really?
Something that I think a lot of people noticed was that it didn't seem like Neta really ever smiled once throughout the entire.
No, not only did she not smile, bitch never clapped whenever Ika was in the spotlight, and not only that, but she also flipped off Demetrius again, even though it's something that happened in the past. Bitch, what are you doing? Like, seriously, it's like I think it's so funny because Taran was like, you know, Neta's gonna give you the sweetest, nicest, non-bitter juror performance ever. You're gonna, you know, she's gonna like smother you in sugar and sweetness, and then she comes out here and does that.
I mean, Taran's trying to think about what you know, makes sense logically for her.
I don't know why
there's no logic here.
Well, it's Rob has a PR firm approach.
Yeah,
I was so disappointed. Like, what benefit does that do for her? I mean, either you know, turn into the skid and you go full on mean girl, or, you know, you be nice. And I felt like in the jury, she was trying the complete opposite approach and trying to be like so sweet, so like nice, and like very just, this is a game. I'm not bitter. This is all for fun. And then all of a sudden she gets back out and she's back to like mean girl. It's like, what do you want? Like, you need to make a choice. And I just was so disappointed because I really, I mean, come on. They're showing these clips to make you smile and laugh. And that's what Ika was doing. Even when like there were embarrassing moments where she was, well, not like embarrassing, but where there were moments where she like yelled at Kevin and was like, my game is a billion times better than your game. And then you saw her reaction. She's kind of like, ooh, yikes, I can't believe I said that. Like, ha ha ha. That's a great reaction because you're like, oh, Ika, you know, you recognize that was kind of a harsh thing to say, but you're great. You're funny. And then Neta's just sitting there like flipping people off, and it's still as if she's in that moment. You'd think that she'd look at it and be like, oh boy, like, why did I do that? I was like, what are you doing? You're making this worse for yourself.
Well, I do think that there's a bit of a difference, especially when you're comparing Ika and Neta, because, and a lot of people are pointing this out in the chat, is that like these clips were very heavily favored toward Ika, and it really felt like Neta was being excluded from a lot of them, and even when she was in them, it seemed like it was kind of negative against Neta. And then also obviously the crowd is cheering Ika, who is just in that round table, you know, going after Neta. It seems as though like it's hard to really, you know, I mean, I don't agree responding to that with with how Neta did. But if we're saying that if Ika can go off on Neta, why can't Neta also go off on Ika? I'm not like fully on board with saying Neta is the ultimate villain here, because I think everyone was feeling very bitter. Jackie's flipping off Ika. Ika's calling Neta names. Like, everybody's in the wrong here. It's just that I think,
but not in
Ika,
the reunion.
Well, I mean, I think Ika had a much more positive reaction from the audience, so it's a lot easier for her to be.
Yeah, see,
gracious.
that's the thing. Yeah, see,
but
okay,
I also.
Go ahead.
I think that in order to get rid of that perception, you have to show that now that the game's over, I'm not that person. Oh, I can't believe I did that. You have to show something different rather than just going right back into that mode. Like, obviously, she knows that people didn't like that. That wasn't positive for her. So, like, her best response is to show that she's different than that, and that's not her. And, she's over that. That was part of the game. And instead, she just went right back towards that, what people didn't like in the first place. And obviously it's hard when you're in the moment, but I just was hoping for, a different response from Neta.
Because that's who she is. She is a bitch. She is a mean girl. I'm sorry, she is. You guys didn't see it at the end of Big Brother Canada 2. And I love Neta as a strategist, but she's like this. When things don't go her way, this is how she gets. Big Brother Canada 2, at the end of the game for the last 7 weeks, everything went her way except for one time, when Allison pulled out that secret veto and used it. And that's when you saw Neta's face just totally freaking crack. She was not happy. How did this happen? And that's when the mean girl came out. And it only rectified it when she was able to make a fake Final Four with Allison and John, and to make sure that they ended up getting their vote to kick Arlie out of the house. After that, she was fun Neta again because everything was going her way. Everything changed tonight when I feel like Neta realized that she's not the star of the show anymore. I'm sorry, bitch. Ika is. Ika's the star of the show. And Neta could not applaud her one flipping time. One time could she just have applauded or smiled when Ika was out there. Could she have done that? No, she couldn't do that because she was too freaking bitter. I'm done.
Well, I will say I don't think Ika applauded for Neta at any point either. But I mean, I think maybe it's just that I'm in a good mood because I'm happy with the outcome of this season, and maybe it's just that I don't know. I'm feeling particularly like I'm not coming down on anyone too hard. I think like as far as Neta goes, like I feel bad for Neta. I really do. Like, here's someone who loved this game, probably more than I do. And I love this game, like an unhealthy amount that I watch. Neta's a huge, huge fan. And like, this was a nightmare experience for her. This went every way she would have wished it couldn't have. Like, blindsided by an ally, made to look a fool by a ridiculous move on a live double eviction. Like, and then, yeah, like you're talking about, Ika just totally upstaging her from her season. Like, that was the girl that, like, from their season, like that was her girl, like she wasn't Ika's girl. Ika was Neta's girl on BB, like from BB Can 2. You know what I mean? And now she's got to, like, you're right, she's got to share the spotlight as like the two great female strategists from BB Can 2. And I'm sure that's a tough pill to swallow. That cannot be how she saw this going. And I feel for her. I mean, I'm sure that's very, very tough.
Yeah, especially because those two were matched up against each other. And, you always think that you're on the side of the good guys. And so she probably thought, when it was Ika versus Neta, it was like Neta's the good guy and Ika's the villain. So because that's the way, she assumes it would be. And then she finds out it's not. And that's got to be, horrible. And I think that, I disagree that Neta's a mean girl. I don't think that she is. I think that, this is tough for her. And I think that, I don't know. I feel bad for her. I just, like Alex said, I feel for her. And I just, though, wish that she had handled it in a different way so that maybe we could be like saying something else and saying, look what a great sport Neta was, what a great opportunity this was for her to get her image back. And she did. But instead, she kind of like reverted back. And I don't think that Ika is completely, an angel here. She's fine. I think that, she did her fair share of stuff, but I think that the fans just kind of turned on Neta, and I think it's sad.
Well,
yeah, and like
I'm sorry. I just
you
want
know,
to say really quickly that I just feel like that Neta doesn't know who she is yet. I mean, or the person that she was shown to be on Big Brother Canada 2 is not really the person that she is. I mean, I do really think inherently she's kind of a bitch. But you know what? I am too. That's okay. You know, I think I've been a bitch on this podcast at certain times, but I know that that's who I am, and I feel like the people that know me also know that that's who I am. So they know how to interact with me, and I know how to combat that label at various times by smiling and laughing and you know, getting along with people, because I know that I can be a little rough to take sometimes. I don't think Neta has certainly realized yet that people are onto her, that she's sort of like this most of the time, and that she's going to have to do a little bit of damage control down the stretch here, you know, after Big Brother has ended, if she wants to turn it around. I think for the most part, people's minds are set. And I also say that even though if she, you know, let's just say this, whether you agree with me or not, and by the way, you can tell the kids are asleep now because Quiet Brent is back. And this is really hard to rant when I'm really, really mad. But it does give me a lot of practice at trying to contain my anger. The fact that she may or may not be a bitch, that's like besides the point. I would totally root for her even if she was the bitch. It's just that she doesn't seem to be willing to own it. She kind of wants to have it both ways, and she's like crying and boo-hooing when she gets booed by the audience. Well, if you're gonna act like that, you're gonna get booed by the audience. You know, I mean, you know, are you with me, Taran, or not?
I kind of disagree here. I think that before she went into the game, she talked about how she is, you know, she is going to go in being guns blazing and mean. And I don't think she has ever really claimed that that's not her. And I don't think she boo-hooed about the audience. I think that people boo-hooed for her, but I didn't hear her ever say that she was upset about the fact that the audience.
She was crying on the way out the door.
Cry.
She cried because she got evicted. She cried before the booze started. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think she cried because of the booze. I think she cried because she got evicted.
Yeah, she cried in the house too. I'm just saying. Yeah.
Right, and Ika has cried, and like everybody's cried. Like we shouldn't be like.
But she did cry because of the booze that she heard. She cried because of the audience booze at one point in the house. There was like some boo when she got out of the HOH competition, and the audience like cheered for her getting out, and she was upset and she cried and said like she didn't know the audience didn't like her. There was one point, just like not trying to like.
No, thank you.
Refute your point, but I'm just saying that she did at one point know that the audience didn't like her and cried while she was in the house.
No, I'm living for it because you are refuting his point and you're doing it very well. Thank you, Melissa. I'm glad you're here. Yes.
No, I mean.
Hi,
but I mean I concede that point, but I do think that I think that Neta, I don't think that she claims to be something she's not, and I think that if we're saying that she is, I think we're putting words in her mouth. And I personally, like, I don't like the drama. I don't like the you know, ranting, the insulting people. I don't like any of that. I know Brent loves it. I'm not here for it at all. I don't like any of that stuff. But you know, if you do like that stuff, why can't Neta also do that? You know what I mean? I don't think Neta's claiming to be anything she's not. I think that, you know, if Ika is going to be mean to people, then why can't Neta also be mean to people? Why can't we just like be okay with this? Why do we have to like be critical of how Neta handles this situation? It just feels weird to me.
There has to be a hero and a villain, and Ika does it with style, and Neta does it with like the finesse of a, you know, sharp-tongued cat. I mean, like, she's just like that joke that she said, and like literally no one laughed in the audience. That she doesn't know how to do it. You know what I mean? She just doesn't know how to have any pizzazz and do it with style. Like Ika can completely bitch to your face, but she doesn't, and you're like Kevin. You're like, oh my god, I love you. That was so amazing. You know, right. Even Jackie was like, you know, she's amazing. You know, I hate her, but she's amazing. And Neta just is unable to do that. I'm sorry, I don't mean to pile on Neta, but this is my last chance.
And I think one thing I agree with that. I think that like it's sort of like the difference between Kevin and Bruno, where like Bruno is probably the better strategist, but Kevin is able to articulate things in a way where he comes off as the better strategist. But I don't think that means that because Ika is better at being stylish in the way that she does this sort of thing, that we need to say that Neta is like a bad person or that she deserves like the hate or anything like that. No. I think we're being too hard on Neta. Sorry, Alex, go ahead.
I can't remember what I was going to say.
Yeah,
I
Alex
don't
has been
think
trying to
that-
get in for the past
I've been
4
trying to get a
minutes.
thought in for like 5 minutes straight.
I know. I stopped talking like 3 different times just because I see that you were like, you have your mouth open, and I know that means you're getting ready to talk.
I don't think that Neta deserves any of the hate that she got at all. I don't think that I think it's totally uncalled for. And I also think it's very hypocritical to have people, loving what Ika's doing and hating what Neta's doing, even though they're very, very similar in terms of like the way that they were potentially treating other people and acting in the house. And I think that, it was sad. I think that it was sad the way Ika got away with a lot of stuff that Neta could never have gotten away with. And I feel bad for Neta because I just don't think it's fair. I agree with Taran. I don't think that the hate was warranted at all.
All right, let's get into some questions here. I got one from Jimmy on Twitter. I really like this question, and I'll give it to Alex. How would you rank each member of the Fortress, meaning Kevin, JP, and Karen?
Kevin,
Lord.
JP, and Karen. That's my order.
All right. I think there's a case to be made that JP is still a better player, to be honest.
I know there is. I thought that's why I hesitated. It's not. He played a really great 3 weeks. Really great. I remember what I was going to say, though, by the way. I think one point Brent made that was really particularly salient was this idea that, like, maybe Neta doesn't fully know who she is yet. I think one thing we never talk about that, like, never, I don't know if we talked about it all season, Neta's still 25, man. We think about it, she's a veteran of the game. She's this old, wily, savvy veteran. Girl's still younger than I am by, like, a good mark. Like, when I was 25, I didn't know where the hell I was going in my life. She's got, like, a clothing line, but, I mean, what she's doing right now, like, Ika might only be 7 years older, but in those 7 years, like, Ika has kids. Ika has, like, had a family. Like, Ika's done, like some grown-up woman shit. Excuse my language. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just a different dynamic. Like, Ika has just been through a fire that Neta hasn't experienced in life yet. And I think as a result, like, she does. She knows who she is more than someone who hasn't been through what she's been through.
All right, so another question from Joe Heilstorn on Twitter. Not that it was ever possible, but based on the jury's reaction to Ika, do you think Kevin would have beaten Demetrius as well? What do you think, Brent?
Well, I have heard.
Yeah, right. Because there's also been this stuff where people are saying that the jury was saying they might not have even voted for Demetrius over Karen. So we should talk about that as well.
Yeah. I actually had somebody who I respect pretty well actually DM me and tell me that they talked to someone who worked on the show and that the jury would not have voted for Demetrius or Ika under any circumstances, that they would have voted for whoever else was sitting next to them. And I think that that's really effing sad if that's true. Based on what I saw tonight, it looked like there were a good many people who were like really happy to see Demetrius out in third place. And obviously, I think that they had been spoiled a little bit because there wasn't any, like, usually there's a lot of tension there. Is it Kevin coming out or is it Demetrius coming out? But like Neta and Bruno were like, they were already applauding before like anything had happened. So, it was clear that they had been spoiled somewhat, that it was going to be Demetrius.
Yeah. Sorry, but that was so annoying to me because I was looking for the reactions and there was just nothing. They had no reaction to it. I was so disappointed.
Like, they didn't want you to see that they didn't react.
I also thought it was interesting that Cindy was like in the jury roundtable when Ika was fighting for Demetrius, and Cindy was like, okay, the more you do this, the less likely we are to vote for Demetrius, which is exactly the opposite of what we had said last night, because we were like, no, I don't think that the jury will be influenced by Ika. I think that no matter what Ika does, I think that they're going to like see it for the game. Well, of course, we were totally wrong, but and I also thought that it was totally uncalled for Ika to tell Neta like, well, what do you like? Didn't even see the game. You were out first or whatever. And it was like, oh, come on. Like,
I think that's a fair point. I mean, I'm not loving a 9-person jury. I mean,
but what is she supposed to do? Just not speak? Just be like, oh, well, I can't have an opinion because I got out. Like, it just is, come on.
Yeah, I mean, I think fair or unfair, it doesn't help Demetrius, right?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, well, fair. Of course, it doesn't help. And I don't think it was a good look from Ika. On the other hand, she had the misfortune of having to confront all of her fellow jurors in front of the television cameras with Tim there. She didn't just get to, talk with him and work everything out back at the house like everybody else did. I don't think that something like Neta, obviously she can speak if she wants to. She can say whatever. She's a big girl. She can say whatever she wants to. But she was claiming to know what happened in the house, and Ika rightly pointed out, like, girl, you were evicted in week 5. Like, are you going to listen to me, or are you going to listen to the hearsay that you're hearing from other people? I mean, that's all I heard from
I just remembered there was and I wish I remember who it was on Twitter, because I'd love to give them credit, but there was a GIF, right? There was a GIF floating around out there that was really funny, which was like it was like Ika walking into the jury, and it was like, I think it was from like Lion King 2. It was like this like lioness just walking amongst all the hyenas, just like nipping at her heels. I thought it was really, really funny.
First of all, Alex, it's GIF. Come on.
No, it's GIF.
No,
it's
Oh my
Jeff.
God.
Even the creator of it says it's GIF. So you know what?
You're the creator. It's GIF. I don't care. I'm not saying GIF. It's not happening. All right.
It's
Sorry.
It gets so touchy.
But yeah, I mean, there was definitely a lot of now people are arguing in the chat. It's not traffic. Okay. There was definitely a lot of sentiment. Like there was a lot of talk about Karen being, well, maybe Karen, maybe she has done something. There was a lot of people talking, down Demetrius' game. It's not totally inconceivable to me that this jury might not have voted for Demetrius, even against Karen. But I do.
I totally
would
agree.
like. Yeah, and I would like to know from. I hope we get like a jury, interview where they're asked.
Oh, do you think they're going to admit it now? They'll never going to admit it now.
Well,
the only reason that they were talking up Karen there at the end, like Neta and Bruno saying stuff about Karen, was because they wanted to have an insurance policy in their back pocket if it was Demetrius and Karen in the final 2. That was the only reason that they were saying that stuff, so then they could validate their vote and say, see, I was thinking of all the things that she's done. I believed her when she was saying that she was playing this amazing game. I mean, they wanted to have their bitter vote locked down if they voted against Demetrius. That's all that was.
What'd you guys think about Tim saying something about like, whoever the winner is should be someone who's like leaving as a better person?
I immediately
I was sitting home like, yeah, go ahead.
I immediately thought back to last night when I was saying I think Tim is gonna like talk about their life story and like just like do some random Tim nonsense, and I was like, yes, this is exactly the random Tim nonsense.
Yeah, they're leaving as a better person, as somebody who quit in the final 3 when they had a chance to win the game. Is that what? Is that they should better themselves? Tim, like, girl, bye, whatever. I couldn't even stand him on this segment.
Oh, so dark, and all the shade, so much of it.
Well, it was pointed out to me that Tim has talked about how he wasn't a fan of Kevin's game. So I really saw that as if Tim is there, Tim I don't think cares about rules. I think Tim would have done whatever he could to discredit Kevin's game, but obviously didn't happen much.
Yeah, I don't care if someone's a better person. Maybe that's just me, but that's not what I'm with you. You're talking about what we're here for tonight. That's not what I'm here for. And
this is I think the same Tim that says he didn't quit the game, or no, he did quit the game on purpose, right? Like one that was like, he wasn't meant to win. Yeah. I didn't want to win. It's the same Tim.
He was there to set up the other twist. I mean, wait.
Yeah. So a question from the franchise on Twitter: what is this season going to be remembered for? What do you think, Melissa?
Ika, I think. I mean, I just think that she's going to be remembered from this season, and I think that her control of the game and her antics and how people were entertained by her and she left beloved. I think that people are going to remember her, and I think that that's what the season's going to end up being known for, I think.
Yeah. I feel like when I think of this season, right, I'm going to remember it as like the 6 dominated early on, right? It seemed like the veterans could work together, and then they couldn't because all the egos collided and it wasn't going to happen. So then, Ika managed to, take over at that point. And I mean, it was kind of like Ika taking out, her opposition there in degrees of succession, where like she had to get rid of Neta and then she had to get rid of Dre, who was like kind of the next big threat that emerged. And then from that point on, it was like Demetrius and Kevin winning comps down the stretch. Like that ultimately. And that's why I think it was a little confusing, and it sends a weird message to have that whole montage. Like, not that I don't hate them, not that I don't love a montage of Ika, you know what I mean? And a lot of the like really great stuff and like entertaining moments that happened this season, but it's very strange to like show that like this was a season dominated by strong women. Ika, Neta, Karen, Cindy, and then it's like, okay, but now we're gonna watch a man win 9-0 over one of those strong women. Like, it's just like a very extreme example of like how the show just deviates wildly from what we've been watching on feeds.
Yeah.
I felt like that was a little bit like putting a lipstick on a pig. Like, I mean, the fact that there wasn't anything here to see as far as that goes. I mean, look, Ika was certainly a queen and she ruled the season, but the fact of the matter is she lost when it, you know, just like Cassandra before her, just like Brittany before her, none of these queens could win when the chips are down at the final four. You know, I don't know, it's heartbreaking to me, but it's true. I mean, that the comps at the end seem to favor somebody who's going to be Jedi drilling, and that's always going to favor a moderately athletic guy like Kevin. I mean, he's just the kind of guy who's going to be studying those type of things that Big Brother asks. If they want a little more variety, then they need to switch up the final HOH. Again, I was hoping that it was something a little more crapshooty, that would have given us an unpredictable winner. On the other hand, because then I feel like you have to depend on your social game in order to get you to the end, like in Big Brother US. But the fact that Kevin was essentially able to comp his way to the end, Mike Holloway style, it was the same kind of comps over and over again. The final five, you know, what day did this happen? Final four, veto, you know, align the events in the house on the stalagmites and stalactites. Final three, you know, as long as you got to the final three, well, the final or part two was align the stars, these constellations. And then, you know, the final HOH is basically a trivia contest based on, again, wait for it, events in the house. So it's all basically the same type of thing. If you don't want to be facing somebody like a juggernaut like Kevin Martin at the end, you need to make sure you get people like this out of the game, especially if you're playing Big Brother Canada.
Yeah, I think it's really fair criticism. And yeah, I think, you know, one easy fix is just with some of those, you could just add other elements that work against, you know, someone who's, you know, like, and maybe it doesn't work for this season, but like, you know, if something that, you know, you have to climb, or something that like where body weight works against you, or something,
or you
where
have to bounce,
swim, or like go underwater to do stuff. Yeah, I mean, right, like some kind of equalizer in these.
Like if they had some sort of competition where you kind of had to know the events in the house, but also solve a puzzle with the events in the house, or something like that, like something where it's more than just rote memorization, I think that would help. Because I also think that those competitions were way more interesting in the earlier seasons where we didn't know they were coming. And it was like, who's more observant? Who's been paying attention more? But now it's just like, okay, so from day one, you basically remember every single thing that happens every single day throughout the whole thing. And then you just keep running those drills over. And it's not, it's like anybody can do that. I think it was better in the beginning when they didn't know it was coming, and it was like, well, but who's been paying attention? Maybe you should have been paying attention to all your fellow house guests. Maybe you should have been paying attention to the way the game was working. And then they're like, oh my God, I should have been paying attention. I just think that's it's too cliche now. It's just too everybody's expecting it, so there's no element of surprise to it at all.
Yeah,
Taran, we've come a long way from throwing CDs into a bowl that's floating in the pool.
Yeah.
Well, it's so cliche that somebody who is the winner of this season, 9-0, puts out a video a few days before and says, oh, by the way, I've been studying these kind of comps. These kind of questions have been coming up over and over and over again. I mean, Kevin was basically like, you know, thumbing his nose at the producers at that point, saying, ha, 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 I know what's coming and I'm already prepared for it. I've already studied everything. Gotcha. You know, but
there is something compelling to that. The fact that Kevin essentially like solved this game, right? Like he got ahead of the producers, he got ahead of his fellow house guests, and he really outplayed all of them in terms of the competitions. What I would like to see moving forward is, now that it's been solved, let's change it up, because you know, we don't want to see a house full of people studying constantly. And I think that's so ultimately where we're going to end up. Yeah.
Thank you.
So boring.
Right.
When you like switch to a feed and they're like day 46, like you think they're talking game because there's like a group of people like in a room and they're like day 46, Ika evicted. Like they just have, it's so boring. I'm like, switch feeds. That sucks. You know,
100%. Yep.
Right.
Horrible.
And I mean, I've always been an advocate for the randomness of the final part of the final 3 HOH in Big Brother US, even though a lot of people hate it because it leads to things like Steve beating Vanessa, stuff like that. But I like it because I want more variety and more randomness thrown into the competitions so that strategic and social ability plays more into the game than competitions. Big Brother Canada, I think it's been clear now that it is much more reliant on competitions, which I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, but I would like to see more strategic and social ability stuff. That said, I'm not going to rail against Big Brother Canada for this. They've done such an amazing job with this season in terms of like the lack of twists and stuff. So I'm like singing your praises. Don't think I'm criticizing you right now because I'm really glad about what happened this season.
Yeah. No returning juror for like it's been a returning juror like every US, Canada. Like I hate like when twists become like, and they still announce it with such fervor, but it's like this happens every season. And like it's almost a bigger twist now. Like, oh my God, they didn't bring back someone from the jury. Like, wow, what a concept. Like this is a twist now. So good. Way to go. Way to not like lean into something just because you feel like you have to, because that's like the trend these days. I love that.
Alex, I didn't talk with you since last night. Did you see Neta and Bruno like waiting with bated breath when Dylan was getting ready to read that thing in the jury at the final? Oh, didn't you love that?
Oh, poor kids.
Faces cracked.
That would have been me too. That's so you're just sitting there with nothing to do for weeks, and they're like, a letter? What about a twist? Like 2 days before the end, like what's happening? Like, maybe, we know we get to vote for a winner. We get to watch a tape. Send me home.
For me, my takeaways from this season are the early game was all about the vets should have dominated, but we had this weird situation where the new players were almost so bad that the vets had to turn on each other because all of the new players were pawns, which was an interesting way to see this play out. Usually we see a couple of strong new players form a coalition against the veterans, but the veterans are stronger, and so they take out the new players. In this season, I think what we saw was a bunch of new players who didn't really put up any fight, and because they didn't put up any fight, the veterans saw themselves as the biggest threats, and they ate themselves. Then moving forward, I think we have we're going to be remembering the record-breaking competition streak from Kevin, the record-breaking HOH wins from Dimitri, and Ika as, this breakout star of the show. Those are the things that I think are really going to stand out from this season. And again, what we're talking about in terms of competitions, should they be changed? I think that's a conversation that's going to be that's going to come out from this.
Well, you know what I want changed is the jury questioning. I just feel like they need to take a page out of Survivor's book, because they had 20 seconds to get out their question, 20 seconds to get an answer. You couldn't, I was having trouble following because it was just like boom, 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 boom. I love when they get a moment to like address them, maybe say something and then ask a question, and then they get a chance to give a nice response. Like rather than this quick, like as fast as we can, let's shuffle through these people kind of thing. I was so disappointed because that's one of my favorite parts is the jury questioning.
Yeah,
yes, I totally agree with you there. I don't understand why that they're doing this, because they got to a point where I think it was like 11:10, and I'm sorry, it was like 10 after the hour, and there was still 50 minutes left, and they had already locked in the votes at that point. Like you've got plenty of time.
Show?
And it's a taped show. I don't understand why you have to, like give us these terrible questions and then show us like 30 minutes worth of clips about queens and romances and things that happen in the house. Like it's just,
we saw it.
They could have given us
I love Big Brother Canada. I think like they have a pretty polished product when it comes to like the way they do the recaps. Like it looks really nice and flashy and fluid, and everything is very good. But at a point, it feels like, okay, if I've been watching this show, which you have to assume they think I am, you must think I'm really, really dumb. Because like we've covered this now so many times, or like, it's a situation where it's like, we're going to focus on like the women this season. I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure I know which ones were the women. Like, I don't think I need help discerning. Like I could pick them out of a lineup. I'm confident. So like there's just a few things where it's just like, and that would be fine in and of itself, but it seemed like the ending was so rushed. Like I didn't even like see, like they didn't reveal on the show, like who the extra votes were for. We didn't get to like really hear from Kevin at all. Like we've heard interviews from everybody. And I think it would be cool just to like hear something from the winner a little bit, you know what I mean? Just to risk to get a little something from him, get a little something from Karen. Like this, there should have been, I think, just in my mind, and this is really the only nitpick, you know, it's great season, great. I don't want to hate, like you said. I mean, I love what Big Brother Canada has done. Season 5 turned out like, when I heard it was vets and newbies, I set my expectations very low, and it's just wildly exceeded anything I thought it could be. I mean, there's been blindsides and flips like every week. It's been very, very entertaining and very, very interesting. But I mean, yeah, this is one thing where it just seemed like we had a lot more we really could have focused on. And rather just seeing people laugh and seeing their like knee-jerk reactions to like moments, I would have liked to like hear them talk about it now that it's over, or like decompress in front of the group. I don't know. That's like a Survivor reunion is so good. Like what? That's what we're missing from Big Brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we went out with a whimper when we should have gone out with a bang. And I think that Survivor does it right, where they do the pre-taped jury segment, the jury questions, everything like that. Then they announce the winner or whatever. Then they have the reunion show, and where they can all talk about their strategies, various, you know, controversial things that happened during the season, or like what are the reactions now. I think that they really should have done that rather than just showing them clips of the season, and just we didn't even get to really talk with them afterwards. It was just like a little screen within the screen of them reacting to it, and then that was it. And then we crown the winner. Kevin wins. He's done. Goodbye. See you next time. Like that's it. We didn't. It just was so rushed at the end. Whereas like the rest of it so drawn out, and it was like, come on, another commercial break. We just want to know who won.
Yeah, Survivor does this right, completely, from the jury questioning to the way they structure when they reveal the winner and then questioning afterward. They do have a couple of packages, a couple of montages that they show, but they show them and then it's very quick. It's like 30 seconds and then they talk to the people about them. I just feel like that's, you know, we need to be looking to Survivor as the model example of what you should do in a finale. And it wouldn't be a finale podcast if we didn't talk about how they need to bring back the old jury questioning. I really feel like that's so important, and it's unfortunate that we don't have it.
Hey, Taran, I wanted to ask you really quickly. Your previous point about the fact that, you know, the vets came in and we expected that, you know, like that some newbies would align and try to take out the vets, but basically the newbies were so bad that the vets, you know, ended up going after themselves. I mean, don't you think that's the strategy? If you're a new player and you find yourself in a season with vets, to basically just disarm and say, hey, we're here for you guys. You know, we love you guys so much. And eventually the vets are going to look around and say to themselves, you know, the people that I should be targeting are the people who've played before, and they're all around me. Like, that seems like it's the best option.
Yeah, you just need to do that thing like roaches do, like right before they die, where they're just like turn their stomach up. It's just like totally vulnerable. Like, don't even worry about me. I'm just dead over here. Forget about me for weeks.
Yeah, and I think that's why, you know, I pointed out, I think that this is really, you know, hopefully, you know, if people are paying attention, I think this is a turning point in terms of strategy for a season where there's mixed players, where there's veterans and there's new players. This is the way to go if you're a new player. I don't think it works for Survivor, but I do think it works for Big Brother. You need to just completely fold and let these people take each other out. And then, you know, then hopefully if you're actually a good player, you can turn it on later. Unfortunately, I don't think that was necessarily the case. We had Dre almost do it, but really kind of screwed herself over, falls flat.
Boy, that was the worst timing of the season. Like literally, if they gave a BB award for the worst timing of the season, they would have to give it to Dre, because I literally thought she was going to win this game. She had everything lined up. She could have like coasted through the triple eviction. I think the night before the triple eviction, I was on this podcast saying that, you know, of the people in the house who are vulnerable, the only person who I cannot see going up on the block and being evicted is Dre. And then look what happened, like literally 24 hours later. Like it was like, I mean, I know she didn't know that there was a triple eviction coming. On the other hand, like, wow, girl, what could have been there?
Yeah, no, it was like weeks where we were talking about like, this is a potential like a monster, you know what I mean? Like she could potentially, like, there's a clear path to victory here for Dre, and instead like she's just gonna end up being like kind of an afterthought of the season. It's like, oh yeah, you remember that girl that was always saying how it was the most lit season of all time? Like, yeah, I remember her.
Now she was gonna get turned.
Yeah.
Turns up.
And then never did.
There you go.
Never did.
It was kind of like the Cindy thing where people were talking about how great Cindy was doing, but then I think a few of us were like, well, let's just wait and see. It was sort of the same thing with Dre, where it's like she was doing well, but it was like, this is kind of a recent thing.
Like
it hasn't been going on for very long. Yeah, like let's just see if she can maintain it. And unfortunately,
hey Taran, I have a question for you. It's from Aman from our So You Think You Can podcast contest. He says
another draft that I won.
I know, right? Do we think that Big Brother US will give a damn about Big Brother Canada kicking their ass in production value? What say you, Taran Armstrong?
Right. This is actually something I wanted to talk about because I thought about these competitions. I thought they looked amazing. I really loved the look of these competitions. And then I thought back to Big Brother 18 and their final HOH, which was them dressed up in like cat outfits.
Chase the laser pointer. Chase it. Chase it across the yard now. Go on, Kitty.
Such a hugely stark contrast there.
It's so bad.
Yeah,
And the scales of Just Us.
Yeah.
Like I was thinking back to that when they had this like modern, like it looked like a Daft Punk concert or like a Justice concert, and it was like this giant thing. And they lit him up and they lit him up, and it was so epic. And then it was like I just remembered back to when like Nicole and Paul were on the scales of Just Us, and they were just like, and it looked like it was like gonna collapse or something. I was just like, oh, this is embarrassing for America.
You actually called it the scales of Just Us.
Yeah, the scales of Just Us.
I did not remember that's what that's.
Yeah.
The US has a much.
Oh wow.
I have to imagine the US has a much bigger budget. They have a much bigger audience. How are they not able to like? Canada is just like totally wrecking them in terms of production.
Oh my God.
Quality in these competitions. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you'd think they'd be a little bothered. I mean, it seems like a lot of BBUS people up there in old Niagara for the finale festivities. And it's legitimizing Big Brother Canada in the States. I don't know how CBS and affiliates would feel about that, but yeah, I mean, it's a bunch of people up there. I think even like Natalie is up there. Like, did Natalie watch Big Brother Canada 5? I don't know, but she's up there. You know what I mean? So it's good for them. It's good for Big Brother Canada. All good things for them.
All right, so I think we need to. I know we've talked about this before, but this is the finale podcast. I think we need to rank. Where does Kevin rank in the Big Brother Canada winners? And then maybe can we also just have maybe a generalization of where he might fall in the overall winner rankings? Alex, what do you think?
I feel like I already kind of did this, and it hasn't changed. I guess I'm still gonna go. What was it like? Yeah, John, Kevin. Pax is Sarah Jillian, I think. I think that's what I'm doing here.
So where did you wait, Kevin? I couldn't hear that. So where's Kevin?
John, Kevin, Pax is Sarah Jillian, I think is where,
Kevin,
I'm headed here. But I would still, I reserve the right to change my mind at times.
I would have it Sarah, Jillian, Kevin, Pax brothers, and oh, I'm sorry, I forgot John. So yes, no, Sarah, Jillian, John, Kevin, Pax brothers. Yeah, that's right. Sorry.
Okay.
I forgot John.
Melissa, how about you?
I don't really know enough of Jillian, so I'm not quite sure. But all I know is that. Well, okay. I'm thinking that I would probably. I mean, obviously, I'd do John, and then I guess. I mean, I kind of would put Kevin like if there's 5 winners, I'd probably put him in the middle or maybe second. I don't know.
The chat's freaking out about Sarah being first for Brent.
I'm sorry, but I am her favorite. So there you go.
Exactly. After Brent talked to her and she said that he was her favorite, and she, yelled at me and Alex, obviously.
And she had valid points. Like she read you two for filth.
She did not have valid points.
I didn't have a chance to say anything, so technically, I don't know what points could have been made.
Yeah. I think I would probably do John, Kevin, Pax Bros, Jillian, Sarah. But even then, like I really think there's a lot of thought to be put into how important are these competitions for Big Brother Canada. How much this is a really different way to win the game, to really just outthink production and prepare for these. It's never been done before. Right. So it's really hard to understand how like is it repeatable? Probably not, but is it really impressive? Yes. So it's a little hard to rank that. And as far as like overall, it's still not really in the top tier of overall Big Brother winners in general, North America winners. I think John is still probably up there, you know, maybe in the middle, and then Kevin's probably like you know, mid to low tier somewhere. Let me know if you guys disagree with any of that.
I can't pass up. I cannot pass up this moment of shade. So, Taran, what say you about the fact that William, in his jury question, asked Kevin himself what would have happened if William did not use the secret veto on him, and Kevin said, "I most assuredly would have went home. Thank you, Williams, for saving my life."
Well, I think
that's the right answer, even if it's a lie.
I also think it's pandering. You know, William wants to hear Kevin say, "I couldn't have done it without you."
And I think what he said was he wasn't sure if he would go home. That he knew it would be a battle between him and Bruno. I do think he probably goes home there. But I do think I liked his answer. It was very, you know, it pandered to William, and then he also made sure to put in there like it was my social like bond with you that saved me. You know, giving himself a little bit of credit.
Yeah, you can tell William liked the answer. It was like a slow, reluctant little grin he got, where it's just, it started out, he was like, I'm trying to make him, you know, you're going to earn this from me, Kevin. I'm not going to give it away freely. And then by the end, he's like, and if he wins this money, we can get champagne drunk, and you never know what could happen. So
I loved what him and Dre did when they put in their votes, and they were just like, if I can't vote for my number one, I'm going to vote for the next best option or whatever. And then Dre's like, if I can't vote for myself, I'm voting for his next best option. That was really funny.
That was really cute. I
loved it.
So Taran, do you agree with Sarah Hanlon that there has never been a winner a Big Brother Canada that has not been the beneficiary of a major twist? I mean, what she was trying to say to you was that Kevin was the beneficiary of a major twist that saved his ass in the game, just like she was. Well, so, you know, how can you like bag on her for being the beneficiary of a twist when he was too?
That wasn't what she said to me. What she said to me was, I needed to hate Kevin because he was a beneficiary of a twist. And what I told her was, yes, he was a beneficiary of a twist, but not nearly to the extent that Sarah was.
Okay, I'm just stirring here. Okay.
Yes. But there's another question from Gregory McBean. Does a unanimous vote reflect Kevin's good game, Karen's bad game, or a combination of both? I think this is important because, again, this is only the second unanimous victory in Big Brother North American history. And do we want to give Kevin credit for that? Do we want to say that it was due to, you know, Karen being such a great GOAT, or is it some sort of weird combination of, like, you know, veterans, prior relationships? What do you think, Alex?
I think, you know, it's always weird with these mixed seasons. Like this is where juries can be wonky in either direction, I think, like, because, you know, the Big Brother 14 jury is one that's like commonly pointed to as one that, I mean, Taran, you think they got it wrong, right? Don't you?
Sorry, which one?
Big Brother 14.
Oh, Big Brother 14.
They get it wrong.
Oh, yeah, they got it wrong.
Oh,
they got it wrong.
So there you go. So I mean, so I think just, you know, based on that, just, you know, I think it's a situation where I don't know.
I think
it's clearly. Look, you guys. Here's the answer. The answer is clearly both. But I mean, I think this is. You know, I'll give credit to Kevin on one thing, because the fact that Dan Giesling in Big Brother 10 faced a jury of 7 people, got all 7 votes. Kevin faced a jury of 9 people. When there are 9 people on the jury, usually there's a like 1 or 2 what the F. I mean, you know, like Andy didn't even get all of the votes. Derek didn't even get all of the votes in Big Brother US. So, you know, on a 9-person jury, there's always 1 or 2 people who just go off on their own excursion. You know what I'm saying? For him to get all 9 votes, I think speaks to his final 2 plea, where he was, you know, just, you know, absolutely gushing about his love for the game. The fact that all of these people were his friends prior to, you know, the 4-person of the jury and the first 2 people in right after her were all of his friends coming into the game. And also the fact that Karen was a pretty good GOAT. I mean, she, you know, I made a case for Karen, but she didn't make one for herself when she got there. She couldn't say anything that I wanted her to say, and I wish she would have said it, because then I could have said the jury was probably a little bit more bitter than they really were. I think that they were bitter. It's just that they never had a chance to show their bitterness because Demetrius or Ika wasn't in the final 2.
Yeah, I loved when Karen got called out in the questioning when they were like, when you said in your jury plea that you dragged Ika and Dimitri to the end, like, please explain. And she's like, oh, well, I don't think I really said that. And it was like so clear that like she did not want Ika and Dimitri knowing that that's what she had said, because they wouldn't be happy about that.
Yeah, I think that for Kevin, I think that it was a combination.
For Jackie there. Jackie doesn't have a lot in her column, but there's one.
Who?
Yeah, that was great.
Oh.
I think it was a combination of the fact that Kevin had such good friends on the jury to advocate for him that were very influential. Neta and Bruno together with their influence, I think, was very helpful, especially in winning somebody over like Dylan, who came out of the game upset with Kevin. I also think that Kevin, what we talked about, where he never takes anything personally, he never gets mad. I think that really puts you in a great position for somebody like Dylan, like Demetrius, and like Ika, who otherwise may have voted for the person that they had a better relationship with, that they liked more, but they never had any real conflict with Kevin. So they felt comfortable voting for him out of respect. And I think that's something that he shares with Dan Giesling, because Dan, again, never took anything personally. Even when people came at him, he was always able to, not respond in an angry way. And I think that really, really helps in terms of getting in that unanimous vote.
Yeah. And I think in some respects, it's a little bit of like the reverse Dan, where, jurors coming in, in a season where half the people coming in with pre-existing relationships kind of felt slighted by Dan and didn't want to see him rewarded. Here it is kind of the opposite, where Kevin came in with friendships that really benefited him down the stretch in a way that, other people couldn't possibly have access to in a normal season. Yeah,
definitely. All right. If you guys have anything else you want to bring up, let me know. When I asked for questions for this podcast, I think like at least half of them were like, talk more about your draft win, Taran. So reluctantly, I guess I should point out that I have never lost a draft since I started podcasting. Every single Big Brother season, every single Survivor season. Even So You Think You Can podcast.
Big Brother 19 is around the corner. Big Brother 19 is coming.
Okay, sure. I thought this was the one I was going to lose. The odds of me winning like 7 or 8 straight drafts are incredibly low.
JP was saying that. JP's gone now. He was the bad juju that was causing you to win all these drafts. So now that he's gone and Melissa's here, we're going to take it away from you.
Very close.
She almost. I thought she was going to be the new factor that ruined it for me. But I mean, I really don't even know what to say anymore. It's.
I thought it might have had it. Taran, you are so humble.
I don't care what you guys.
Yes.
I don't care what you guys say. I feel like now with Kevin having won this season, me and Taran are tied.
Wait, what?
Yeah. I had 4 seasons of Big Brother Canada people to work with. You guys all pick Neta. Who do I pick? Who wins?
Okay, Alex. So you think
anyone returns to Big Brother Canada? Who wins?
So you think Kevin is the best winner, the best player in Big Brother Canada history?
Am I saying I'm not being results oriented? No, I never claimed that. But here we stand.
You only picked him because you said that you saw us. We all picked Neta already, and if you had gone first, you would have put Neta down.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I did go first, but then once I saw that, I'm like, we can't all do the same thing, can we?
and honestly,
so you changed your answer.
Like I said, I came into this podcast thinking like, man, Alex must be so embarrassed. He should have had Kevin. He should have won this draft, but he fumbled at the last.
No, he found a way to be proud.
Yeah,
we hedge our bets. That's what we do.
All right.
He's like, let me be clear. I am also a winner, Taran.
Okay, so I keep seeing this question. I don't really see the comparison, but a lot of people are talking about it. Somebody, John Heddles in the chat wants to know who's a better winner, Nicole or Kevin? For me, I think the traditional game, I think Nicole is probably a better player. But again, with Big Brother Canada, it's a little different because you can game the comps, and that's not something you can do in Big Brother US. So it's a little hard to compare. Let me know if you guys have any hot takes on this.
I don't even know anymore. I feel like between OTT and then just like the craziness has been like, what's a good player? I don't even like this.
I mean,
you could sit me down and really like pitch me a case that like.
I have to go for Kevin.
I am very moldable right now in terms of my Big Brother beliefs. I feel like I'm susceptible to new ideas. I don't think I know as much as I thought I did.
Well, it's getting harder and harder to compare the different kinds of seasons because the gameplay is diverging. So, I mean, OTT obviously impossible to compare, and with Big Brother Canada, with all the twists, it was already difficult to compare. And even though there were less twists this time, I think the comp structure also makes it a little bit difficult to compare them. So, definitely a tough job to try to compare them. Let me know if anybody in the chat has a good hashtag that doesn't involve hand jobs. That
was the only one I was seeing. That was mentioned 3 times in this. Well, now 4. The hand jobs have been mentioned 5 times in the podcast. Great.
You're still mentioning it.
And we're still going.
Yeah. Don't look now.
Great way to end the season.
Hand jobs the most referenced thing on the Big Brother coverage. It all started with that recap of the recap.
Right? I still love that. Oh my gosh. I hope Rob puts that in his Rob's 2000 show is coming up. So I'm really hoping that makes it.
We should do something to commemorate the fact that Kevin won, right? What about like slithering to the win or something like that?
Okay, this is so typical of the audience of Big Brother. I asked for not hand job hashtags, and
everyone's doing
90% of them are hand job hashtags. I'm seeing.
Well, Rob doesn't want us to do that, so we need to do something with Kevin.
We've got an HJ, we've got handwork, hand job strategy.
Okay. I'm seeing.
Well, I think we need to do
something. That little puke.
That Kevin Martin.
Or that Kevin Martin. I like
How about
it.
That Kevin Martin? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll do hashtag that Kevin Martin. This is it for our Big Brother Canada 5 coverage. Maybe we will. I know Rob is going to be talking to the final 4, whatever. Final 3.
Yeah, final 4 tomorrow morning, I think.
Okay, cool. So we'll get those interviews up. Hopefully we'll be able to find out what that jury was thinking, if they really would have voted Karen over Demetrius, and how people feel about Kevin Martin winning, that Kevin Martin, and Kevin's own assessment of his own game. But I think Kevin's probably going to come out of this game with a pretty decent assessment of his own game, which is that it wasn't the greatest. But I'm very interested to hear what he has to say. That's it. Thank you so much for joining us all season long. This has been such a treat. I sometimes am not looking forward to the Big Brother Canada coverage because of all the twists. Really gets to me sometimes, but this was a really great season. I'm so glad that the twists weren't there. I really enjoyed the outcome, even though I would have been happy with anything, but I think the competitions down the line were exciting in a way that I've never been excited by competitions. And I've just had such a great time podcasting with you guys, doing the roundtable. I'm very, very, very sad to see Jordan leave, but I'm very excited about our coverage moving forward. Do you have anything to say, Melissa?
Well, this has been such an amazing experience. My first official season of podcasting with you guys. It's been so great, and it's been kind of a whirlwind, and what a great season to have my first podcast on. So I'm looking forward to the next season, to BB19, and, I'm really, really excited to be here with you guys, and it's been really great.
I'm so happy we have you. I think you've been an amazing addition. It warms my heart that you're here. I think you really make the podcast better.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Brent, do you have any final words?
I don't want anybody to misread the way I've been acting this podcast. First of all, I think it's pretty boring when 4 people come on a podcast and all have the same opinion. So, y'all know why I'm here, because I just look at things through a different lens than most people. I hope everybody gets that. We're all still friends. Secondly, this has been an amazing season of Big Brother. The host of Big Brother is flipping amazing. The people who make the show great and the comps, they are amazing. And the cast that they put on this year, it really couldn't have been better. I mean, we got really lucky with a couple of the outcomes, like the triple eviction. That could have gone really, really bad. And instead it went really, really well. So I was happy about that. So just a little bit of luck helped us. But overall, it was really an amazing season and a very worthy winner in Kevin.
All right, Alex, final thoughts.
I mean, it's been a fun season. It's been a long season. It's been a lot of Big Brother. I did Big Brother UK too, so I didn't really even have any kind of off season. I've just kept up with this stuff. And
you're crazy, man.
Let's go, Big Brother 19. I'm ready for it. And don't let me forget. Will from America sent us in a song called "That Kevin Martin" that we have here.
Oh yes, we end
the podcast. we can get a more polished version on the iTunes. So like if you can't really make this out on the YouTube version, I guess you can listen to the iTunes format. But I guess I'll go ahead and play this here. This is from Will. That Kevin Martin.
All right.
Will is very talented with these songs. He does them for the Survivor podcast, and they're really, really great. So I'm really excited that we have one for Big Brother. If Alex is able to get it going.
I have no idea what's coming, so.
All right, here we go.
This season could have gone so many different ways. Mixing patterns with newbies always leaves us with a bad taste. Big Brother Canada is known for stupid twists. And if one took out Queen Ika, we know Brent would be pissed. Maybe the feeds were down a lot, and yeah, maybe the editing wasn't so hot. But with low expectations, it goes a long way to have the house flip every other day. And I just wanna say, Kevin Martin, it's been a long time coming. They say you played a good game, even though you never got anything you wanted. Even though you had to win out, you put up to Micah twice and you stayed both the rounds. You let William get in your pants, but wouldn't even let him call it a real showmance. You still got a shopping free from the break, and a brand new car that's pretty sick.
Will from America. It's very nice.
Oh, it was so good. So
Great way to
good.
send us off there.
Yeah, we met Will in Toronto, and he's such a cool guy. I'm so glad that we got to meet him. He sung karaoke. We ended up both singing Mr. Brightside, and he obviously did a much better job than me. So thank you so much, Will, for sending that song, and I really loved it. And thank you again to all of the listeners. Your support means the world to us. You really keep us going, and it really means a lot. And we love doing this. So thank you for staying with us all season long. If you want, you can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Armstrong Taran. Alex is at Alex Kidwell. Brent at One Lucky Gay, and Melissa is at It's Melissa with 3 A's. Thank you again so much. For Brent, Melissa, and Alex, I am Taran Armstrong. # that Kevin Martin. We will see you for Big Brother 19.